Hi, I'm Ann Coulter. Welcome to my Substack. I have the great John Lott here today. Welcome, John Lott.
Great to talk to you again, Ann. Thanks for having me on.
For those of you who don't know, and I don't think I have any subscribers who don't know, John Lott first burst onto the scene for most of us when he wrote More Guns, Less Crime. Oh, I'm going to have you go through that story later. The NRA even opposed you. That's so hilarious. But and you didn't care about guns. It was just this opening in economics. And now more gun myths. What is your latest book called? I'm sorry.
Gun control myths.
Yes, yes, and there are a lot of them out there. But was one thing in particular I wanted John to come on and talk about because, well, as he will explain, no one is covering this, and it's just this shocking attack on free speech from the Biden administration that we now know because Tulsi Gabbard declassified this shocking report. So, could you talk about that, John?
Sure. Well, in June 2021, the Biden administration put out a report on domestic terrorism and what they were going to do about it. But that entire report that they made public dealt with criminal activities by so-called domestic terrorists. What Tulsi Gabbard declassified a couple weeks ago was the rest of the report. And to me, what really made it different than what was originally put out was they were talking about going after non-criminal activity, what they call concerning non-criminal activity. And so, over the last few years, there have been a number of whistleblowers or leaks that have come out in places like the FBI about how they've taken down license plate numbers from school board meetings or kind of infiltrated different Catholic groups or done a number of other things that are there but the administration would always come back and say, well, we're only dealing with criminals here. We're not trying to go after other types of people. Uh, Unfortunately, what the report makes clear, what the part that was declassified, was that in fact they were very concerned about non-criminal activity. So when, one of the leaks that came out was that during the Biden administration was that they were looking for symbols that people would have. Would you go and put 2A on your social media account? Or would you go and talk about the right to keep and bear arms? Or would you have a picture of the Betsy Ross flag there, the flag with the circle of stars from the Revolutionary War, as indications that the individual could be a domestic terrorist? Here, obviously they just wanted to go and identify people. I mean, just this week, we had Marco Rubio make a statement about how even in the State Department, they had a division there that was going and collecting social media posts from American citizens. I mean, why would the State Department be doing that? Um, and there were real consequences. One of the things that the declassified document talks about is going after people for their financial accounts. So there was
Yeah,
so-called
this is
debanking.
shocking.
So, we had a number of people not engaged in any criminal activity. For example, lawyers that work for Trump. I mean, you're a lawyer, obviously. People who are just giving legal advice. I mean, you can agree or disagree. I mean, obviously, any legal case that you have, you're going to have people on either side agreeing or disagreeing on who's right in terms of the law that's there. But so you had people like John Eastman, who had his Bank of America account was canceled, no warning, just immediately canceled there, and he had no recourse. He had an account at
Can you
USAA.
explain how does that happen? 'Cause I mean, I know it happened to V there too, the immigration website. They were thrown off PayPal and they're debanked in every possible way. And it just occurred to me listening to you talk about it. Uh, I mean, what happens? Do you get a notice from the bank? Do you have to go with a suitcase and pick up your money? How do you get your money out? What does that mean
Right.
to be debanked?
Well, that's exactly what happened. I mean, look, this is something that started in a sense under the Obama administration with his so-called Operation Choke Point, where the federal government would put pressure on financial institutions that dealt with companies that the Obama administration didn't like. Like if you were in the oil industry or you were in the firearms industry, they would go and essentially close down your accounts. Now, could companies still function without a banking relationship, without somebody to handle their checks or handle their credit cards for their customers, uh, or even having a bank account to deposit uh, things in? Yeah, you can function, but it's a lot more costly. For civilians, basically, you're forced to be on a cash basis. And there are a lot of things that you can't do on a purely cash basis these days. You know, try buying
Amazon.
something on the internet uh, on a basic, cash basis.
Weren't
I
there
mean, I've
any
talked.
banks who could resist that?
Uh, I know John Eastman tried multiple banks. Once you unfortunately, it's not just John. You had other lawyers. You had people who were supposedly debanked because of their religious or political views. The Biden administration was looking at whether people believed in the Latin Mass for Catholics or whatever. I mean, why? I mean,
Wow.
that's going pretty far afield in terms of, I mean, those would be the top people on my list for terrorist activity, the people that are very religious are there. But so, are there ways you can exist? Yeah. I mean, people still live, but it makes their lives a lot more difficult.
How would an oil company deal with this?
Uh, you'd probably have to go and talk to an oil company, but
Okay.
I know, uh, all I know is that there are workarounds that exist, but it raises their costs. And one of the reasons why they did this was to force some of them to go out of business, and some did. But so Trump, when he won during his first term, he immediately got rid of the Operation Choke Point. Biden reinstituted it, and apparently, according to these documents, made it much broader than just going after companies. We're also including individuals in this.
Have in response to this, have we found any like random individuals who had, I don't know, the Gadsden flag on their social media who had action taken against them? You'd think maybe they'd step forward now, or maybe they're all banned from social media.
Well, I mean, when the leaks came out during the Biden administration, when they were talking about looking for this symbolism as a proxy for whether somebody was a domestic terrorist, uh, the agents themselves said that there had been people that had been identified, at least initially. It wasn't the final dispositive thing for whether or not they would be classified as terrorists or not. But, um, you know, I don't know if I ever had a list. I was talking to John Eastman recently, and he was saying that based on these new declassified documents, he was going to file some Freedom of Information Act requests to go and find out exactly what the trail was with regard to him.
It's really shocking. I saw your tweet on it, your article in, I guess, Real Politics. But you say that even the conservative media, obviously the mainstream media has not breathed a word of this, but even the conservative media isn't really picking up on this. And it is one of the most shocking things about that the Biden administration did. I mean, the border and this.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I agree with you. Look, I mean, you had places like the Washington Examiner and the Daily Caller had stories on it, and maybe it's just they get overloaded with so many different things. But to me, as I say, the most important thing is the fact that they expanded it to not just criminal activity, but for non-criminal activity. I mean, that's it the document that was declassified will talk about things like supporting freedom of expression. Uh, but they also have they say that twice, but many more times they talk about combating disinformation. It kind of reminded me when J.D. Vance was giving his talk a little while ago in Germany, and you had all these politicians in Europe going and saying, you have to have censorship in order to protect free speech. and in order to protect democracy. It's kind of almost word for word, it seemed like what we were hearing from those European leaders that were there. And they were talking about this document talked about the U.S. taking the lead in terms of combating disinformation around the world. They were talking about working with in the framework of this Christchurch Accord after the mosque shooting that had occurred there. And you go and read through this stuff. They talk about going after hate speech, which included things at the time like going and identifying that mass murderer as a socialist. I don't know, maybe that's considered hate speech or not. I mean, obviously, all the documents there were trying to paint him as some right winger, but maybe you have a broader group of right-wing friends than I do, but I don't know any right-wing friends of mine who kind of consider China's communist government as being the ideal form of government to go and have, or to go and have rules that limit how many kids that people can have because having kids is destroying the environment. Or, I mean, maybe, I don't know, I have a very isolated group of people that I talk to.
You can watch complete episodes of Unsafe with Ann Coulter by subscribing to anncoulter.substack.com. That's anncoulter.substack.com. You can also listen to complete episodes for free at Ricochet.com. Choose Unsafe from the pull-down menu at the top of the page. That's Ricochet.com, your home for civil center right conversation on the web.